Hello everyone, I'm Sanchita Sharma and today I'm going to discuss NCERT solutions with you of the chapter The Memories of Childhood. But before we move towards questions, it is important to know that this unit presents autobiographical episodes from lives of Zitkala-Sa, an American Indian woman, and Bama, a Tamil Dalit woman. Both are from marginalized communities who look back on their childhood and reflect on their relationship with mainstream culture. Now let's move on towards the NCERT questions. Our first question is the two accounts that you have read above are based in two distinct cultures. What is the commonality of theme found in both of them? So we have to find what is common between both themes. Answer is the two accounts given in the unit Memories of Childhood are based in two distinct cultures. Two grown up and celebrated writers from marginalized communities look back on their childhood. They reflect on their relationship with the mainstream. Marginalized communities means they are the people who, for whatever reason, are denied involvement in the mainstream economic, political, cultural, or social activities. And mainstream are the ideas and opinions that are considered normal by majority of people. The discrimination, oppression, humiliation, suffering, and insult that they faced as young members of marginalized communities are common to both. Discrimination means treating a person or a group of people worse than others. Oppression is unjust treatment, and humiliation is making someone feel ashamed or foolish by injuring their dignity and pride. So both narrative feels these type of feelings because they were a member of marginalized communities. Zitkala-Sa highlights the several prejudices that prevail towards the Native American culture and women. Prejudice means preconceived opinion that is not based on reason. Depriving her of a blanket that covered her shoulders made her look indecent in her own eyes. The cutting of her long hair reduced her to the status of a defeated warrior, as in her culture shingled hair are worn only by the cowards. Replacing of her moccasins by squeaking shoes, and eating by formula at the breakfast table are other signs of forcible erosion of their own culture and imposing of dogma on them. Depriving her of her blanket. Depriving means preventing someone or a person from having or using something. So they deprive her of her blanket, they take away her blanket from her. Indecent means not appropriate. So when her blanket was taken away from her, she looked indecent in her own eyes. Then they were talking about shingled hair. Shingled hair is a type of hairstyle which you can describe by a very short hair. The replacing of moccasins by squeaking shoes. Moccasins is a type of shoes made of leather. It is mostly made handmade, and they are worn by Native American. So they took away her moccasins and give her squeaking shoes. Eating by formula is a rule which they have to follow at the breakfast. Dogma is a principle laid down by authority as the truth that can't be denied. So dogma is principle that the authority or they want to impose on the narrator. Bama highlights the humiliations faced by untouchable who were never given any honor, dignity, or respect as they were born in lower class. They were made to live apart, run errands, and bow humbly to the master. Errands means a short journey undertaken in order to deliver or collect something, especially on someone else's behalf. So they have to run errands, means they have to done jobs like taking something um to a distance or delivering something for them. They scrupulously avoided direct contact with the people of higher classes or the things used by them. Scrupulously means in a very careful or thorough way. So they were very careful while avoiding the direct contact. The sense of rebellion against the existing state of affairs and decision to improve them are common theme. So the both narrator wanted to rebel against the authority. This is the picture of the hairstyle which you can take as a reference for shingled hair. Next question is, it may take a long time for oppression to be resisted, but the seed of rebellion are sowed early in life. Do you agree that injustice in any form cannot escape being noticed even by children? Answer is, children are more sensitive and observant than the adults. They see, hear, feel, and experience whatever happens around them. They are quick to note any deviation from the normal or any aberration. Deviation means the action of departing from an established course, while aberration means a departure from what is normal or unusual. So the children can observe what is unusual or abnormal for them. Bama at first think the behavior of the elder of her community is quite funny. He is holding the packet by string and running with it awkwardly. But when she learns the reason of his behavior in that particular manner, her ire is aroused against the cruel rich people of upper caste who shamelessly exploit them and heap humiliations on them. Ire means anger, so she was very furious, and exploit means making full use of them and deprive them of anything. So they were using the lower caste people while not giving them any kind of benefit. They were not even given any kind of respect. And heap means untidy collection of objects placed on top of each other. So they were humiliating them so much. She is ready to rebel against the oppression by snatching the packet of vada from the landlord and eating them herself. Vada is type of dish that can be found in South India, and rebel means an act of armed resistance to an established government or a leader. So she wants to rebel, she wants to resist against the authority, she wants to resist against the upper caste people. She doesn't want to follow, respect them, or be submissive towards them. Her elder brother channelizes her anger. He tells her to study with care and make progress. We see the seeds of rebellion in her. Zitkala-Sa too shows that she has the seeds of rebellion in her even at an early age. Her friend Judevin tells her that authorities are going to cut their long heavy hair. She says that they have to submit because they, the authorities, are strong. But Zitkala-Sa rebels. She declares that she will not submit. She will struggle first, and she does carry out her resolution. Resolution is a firm decision to do or not to do something. So she was very determined to resist, and that's why she carried out her resolution. She hides herself to foil their attempt. When she is detected hiding under the bed and dragged out, she resists by kicking and scratching wildly. She is overpowered and tied fast in a chair. But she does not take things lying down. The spark of rebellion in her is not put out by the oppression. This is the picture of Vada. Question number 3. Bama's experience is that of a victim of the caste system. What kind of discrimination does Zitkala-Sa's experience depict? What are their response to their respective situation? Depict means representing something by art or drawing. So you could say, what does the discrimination Zitkala-Sa face and Zitkala-Sa's experience depict? It means what does it represent? The answer is Bama is a victim of caste system as she has been born in a Dalit community. Zitkala-Sa is a Native American who finds that the people who have overpowered the natives are out to destroy their culture. She notices the discrimination against Native American culture women. The cutting of her long hair is a symbolic of subjection to the rulers. In their culture, only unskilled warriors who were captured had their hair shingled by the enemy. She is deprived of her soft moccasins, the shoes worn by Native Americans. Her blanket has been removed from her shoulders and she feels shy and indecent. The rules observed at the breakfast table are alien to her. Both of them rebel against the existing circumstances. They do not bow down to the situation. They struggle hard to remove the discrimination and other barriers raised by people in power. This struggle is against oppression, prejudice, dogma, superstition, and ignorance. The tool with which they carry out this struggle is education. Both Zitkalasa and Bama study hard and earn a name for themselves. They take to writing and distinguish themselves in their respective fields. Their work depict their point of view and carry on their struggle against the discrimination that constrains and binds the free flow of their spirit. Constraint means a limitation or restriction. So they both know that they are discriminated against. They both know that they are being oppressed and they want to struggle. And they did struggle. They want to resist. And for that, and for that, they study. They took education as their tool. And because of that, they could free themselves from the restrictions. This is the picture of shoes that Zitkalasa wore. It is moccasins, Native American shoes. Now we move on towards short answer type questions. Question number one: what does Zitkalasa remember about her first day in the land of apples? Answer is it was a bitter cold day. The snow still covered the ground. The trees were bare. A large bell rang for the breakfast. Its loud metallic sound crashed through the belfry overhead and penetrated into their sensitive ears. Belfry means a part of the bell tower or steeple in which bells are housed. So it's a type of tower in which a large bell is located. This is the picture which you can take for reference for Belfry. Question number two: how did Zitkalasa react to the various sounds that came when the large bell rang for the breakfast? Answer is the annoying clatter of shoes on bare floor disturbed the peace. There was a constant clash of harsh noises and an undercurrent of many voices murmuring an unknown tongue. Murmuring is a low or indistinct continuous sound. All these sounds made a bedlam within which she was securely tied. Bedlam is a scene of uproar and confusion. Her spirit tore itself in struggling for its lost freedom. Question number third. Why do you think was Zitkala Sa so opposed to cutting off her hair? Zitkala Sa had heard from her mother that only unskilled warriors who were captured had their hair shingled by the enemy. Among their people, short hair was worn by mourners and shingled hair by cowards. Since she was neither, she was dead against cutting off her long hair. So Zitkala-Sa remembers what her mother told her. She remembered her culture and she knows what short hair and shingled hair represent in her culture. So she was dead against of cutting her hair. Question number 4. How did Zitkala-Sa try to avoid the inevitable loss of her long hair? Inevitable means certain to happen or unavoidable. So this question is asking how did Zitkala-Sa try to avoid the unavoidable loss of her long hair? Answer is she crept up the stairs and passed along the halls. Crept means moving slowly and carefully to avoid being heard or noticed by anyone. Answer is she did not know where she was going. She turned aside to an open door. She found a large room with three white beds in it. The windows were covered with dark green curtains. She went to the corner farthest from the door and crawled under the bed in the darkest corner. So she found a place to hide herself, and when she notices the place, she crept along the stairs so no one notices her, no one heard her, and she hides in a corner that's the darkest one so no one could see her. This is the image that represents the situation where Zatkalasa was trying to hide under the bed in the darkest corner. Question number 5. How was the search made for Zatkalasa? Answer. First, they called out her name in the hall in loud voices. The steps were quickened, the voices became excited, the sound came nearer. Women and girls entered the room. They opened the closet doors. They peeped behind large trunks. Someone threw up the curtains. The room was filled with a sudden light. Someone stooped, looked under the bed, and found her there. Stooped means having the head and shoulders habitually bent forward. So when someone stooped low means someone bent down to look under the bed. Question number 6. Which words of a brother made a deep impression on Bama? Answer is while returning home, Bama's elder brother told her that although people do not get to decide the family they are born into, they can outwit the indignities inflicted upon them. It left a deep impression on her. Indignity means treatment or circumstance that cause one to feel shame or to lose one's dignity. And inflict means causing something unpleasant or painful. It's suffering of someone. So Bama's elder brother was trying to explain to her that they could not decide which family they were born into, but they could outwit the indignities inflicted upon them. Question number 7. Name some of the novelties and oddities in the street that attracted Bama. Novelties and oddities mean something new and different. So it is asking what Bama finds so attractive in the market. Answer is these included the performing monkey, the snake charmer snake, the cyclist who had kept on biking for 3 days, the spinning wheels, the Maria temple, and the huge bell hanging there. She also noticed the Pongal offerings being cooked in front of the temple. Pongal is a festival celebrated in South India. This is the picture of snake charmer with a snake, and this is a picture of temple with a huge bell. Question number 8. What do you think? made Bama want to double up and shriek with laughter. Shriek means a high pitched, piercing cry or sound. So, shriek means laughter. She wants to laugh so loudly. Answer is Bama saw an elder of their street coming along from the direction of the bazaar. He was a big man. He was carrying a small packet, holding it out by its string. The manner in which he was walking along made Bama want to double up. She wanted to strike with laughter at the funny sight. She thought it was funny because the man was carrying it with string while he can carry it with his both hands. He can touch the packet. But he was carrying it with strings. Was he not afraid that string will break and the packet might fall down? So she found this sight very funny. It was very abnormal and she found it funny. Question number 9. What explanation did Bama's elder brother Annan give her about the elder's funny behavior? Answer is Anand told Bama that the man was not being funny when he carried the package by the string for his landlord. The upper caste people believed that others must not touch them. If they did, they would be polluted. That was the reason why he, the elder man, had to carry the package by its string. So, Anand was here telling Bama why did the elder has to carry the package by its string? Why not touch it? It's because the upper caste people thinks that the lower caste people are dirty and they will pollute them if they touch them. That's why the man has to carry it by strings. He cannot touch the packet because it might become polluted in the eyes of upper caste people. Question number 10. How did Bama react on learning about untouchability? Answer is Bama became sad on listening how the upper caste people behave towards lower caste persons like them. She felt provoked and angry. She wanted to touch those vadas herself. She wondered why elders should run errands for miserly rich upper caste landlords and hand them over things reverently, bowing and shrinking all the while. So, Bama felt that Bama felt sad towards towards the situation. She felt that it is not fair that upper caste people behave towards them like that. She felt provoked and and that's why she wants to touch those varas herself. She wants to show them that these varas might not become polluted. These varas are not dirty just because we low caste people touched it. Miserly means stingy, and reverently means showing respect and submission behavior. So, and we have already understood errands. So, she wondered why the elder should run errands for the miserly rich upper caste landlords and hand them over reverently, bowing and shrinking all the while. So, why should we, lower caste people, show respect towards those upper caste people when those upper caste people are so stingy? Long answer type questions. Question number 1. Why did Zitkala-Sa feel oppressed in new establishment? Answer is since the day the author was taken away from her mother, she has suffered extreme indignities. People had stared at her. She had been tossed about in the air like a wooden puppet. Her blanket had been removed from her shoulders. She felt that she was immodestly dressed. Immodestly is a behavior that is not socially acceptable. She was so shocked and oppressed that she felt like sinking to the floor. Later, her soft moccasins were taken away. These were the traditional footwear of the local Indian American. They were replaced by squeaking shoes. She saw other Indian girls in stiff shoes and tightly sticking dresses. The small girls wore sleeved aprons and shingled hair. The worst indignity she suffered was cutting off her long hair. She covered the covered shingled hair made her moan with anguish. Anguish is extreme suffering. So she was suffering while someone was cutting her hair. She felt she was not a human being but one of the little animals driven by a herder. She was comparing herself to a little animal um, driving by a herder because those animals doesn't have a say in anything. They were driving by a herder, so they have to run along wherever the herder point and wherever the herder take them. So they do not have their own point of view. They do not have their own wishes. They just have to follow. The systematic erosion of their culture and disrespect to women was quite oppressive. Erosion means fading away. So her culture was wearing away and they were imposing their own principle on her and she find itself quite oppressive. Question number 2. But this eating by formula was not the hardest trial in that first day, says Zitkala-Sa. What do you understand by eating by the formula and how did she find it a hard trial? Answer is there was a fixed procedure laid down for breakfast. Procedure is a process. Zitkala-Sa calls it eating by formula. The ringing of a large bell summoned the inmates to the dining room. Inmates means a person confined to a institution such as a prison or hospital. Boys and girls entered the dining room in lines from different doors. Then a small bell was tapped. Each of the people drew a chair from under the table. The writer also did so. She supposed this act meant they were to be seated. So she slipped into the chair. She found others standing. Just when she began to rise, looking shyly, the second bell sounded and all sat down. Then she heard a man's voice at the end of the hall. She looked around to see him, but all the others hung their hats over their plates. She found the pale faced woman watching her. When the man ceased his muttering, a third bell was tapped. Everyone picked up his knife and fork and began eating. She began to cry. She was so afraid that she could not do anything further. Her, discom- her discomfiture was caused by her unfamiliarity with the procedure. However, she found it a difficult experience, a sort of trial. Discomfiture means a feeling of unease or embarrassment. So she was embarrassed and she was very uncomfortable because she does not know any kind of rule that follows around here. When everyone was doing it in a systematic way, she was looking around because she does not know what to do. And she find it really uncomfortable because everything was uh so new to her. Everything was so unfamiliar to her and she found it a sort of trial because it's like you have to follow a certain rule and if you might not follow them then you might be punished. Question number 3. I will not submit, I will struggle first, says the Kalasa. What was she going to resist and why? What efforts did she make and what was the outcome? So, what did she mean by the statement, I will not submit and I will struggle first? What was she going to struggle against? Answer is Zitkala Sa had long and heavy hair. Her friend Judevan had overheard the pale faced woman talk that their hair was to be shingled. Zitkala-Sa decided to resist it. Among their people, short hair was worn by mourners and shingled hair by cowards. Unskilled warriors captured by the enemy also got their hair shingled. Cutting a woman's long hair was thus against their tradition and culture. She tried to avoid it. She crept up the stairs quietly and hid herself under the bed in a room with the dark curtains. She had crawled to the corner farthest from the door and lay close in the darkest corner. Soon she heard her name shouted in the hall. Then the steps were quickened and voices became excited. Women and girls entered the room. They opened closed door and peeped behind the large trunk. Someone threw up the curtains. The room was filled with sudden light. Someone stooped, looked under the bed, and saw her there. She was dragged out, though she resisted by kicking and scratching wildly. She was carried downstairs and tied fast in a chair. She cried aloud and kept shaking her head till the Caesar cut her long hair. So, this is describing the situation where she tried to resist it. She was dead against it because she knows that in her culture, shingled hair is not allowed. Shingled hair is a sign of coward or mourners, and she is not going to cut her hair. That's why by she tried to hide by crawling under the bed. She knows that she's not powerful enough that she can physically resist. That's why she wants to hide. But when they found her, she still resisted by shaking her head and scratching wildly. At last, her hair was cut. Question number 4. How did Bama react to the threshing proceeding in a corner of the street and the spectacle of a big man carrying a packet by a string? Threshing is a process of loosening the edible part of grain from the straw to which it is attached. Bama watched the threshing floor, people working with cattle to tread out the grain and the muzzled animal with a child's curiosity. She stood there watching the fun. The landlord was also watching the proceeding. He was seated on a piece of sack spread over a ledge. Ledge is a narrow horizontal surface projecting from a wall or other surfaces. It is a platform type something, and a sack is a large bag made of a strong material, for example, like jute bag. Then she saw a big man, an elder of a street, coming along from the direction of the market. The manner in which he was walking along made her want to double up. She wanted to strike with laughter at the sight of such a big man carrying a small packet by its string, without touching. She thought that the package might come undone and its contents fall out. Then the elder went straight to the landlord, bowed low, and extended the packet towards him. He cupped the hand that held the string with his other hand. The landlord opened the parcel and began to eat the varas. She found the whole scene quite funny and amusing. She related it to her brother in all its comic details. When he cupped the hand that held the string with his other hand, it means showing respect towards the landlord. Because whenever we receive something that's of great value, especially in religious content, we used to cup our both hands together. So he was showing this sign towards the landlord because he was showing a submissive posture. And that's why the narrator finds it so funny that he was carrying the package by its string while he could carry it with his both hands while touching it. I mean, why carry it with strings? It might come undone and fall out. It's a risky thing, and still the man was carrying it with the strings. And then he shows such a posture towards the landlord and gave him the vadas. So it was quite a funny and amusing sight. She find it she find it unusual and a new one. This is first picture is of the situation describing where the man was carrying the packet with strings and saw him. The second picture was of the process of threshing. Cattle are used for the process of threshing. Question number 5. How did Bama's brother explain the elder's behavior to her? What was her immediate reaction? Answer is Bama's elder brother Annan told her that the big man was not funny when he carried the package by the strings for his landlord. The upper caste people believed that others must not touch them. If they did so, they, people belonging to upper caste, would be polluted. That was why he did not touch the contents but held the packet by its string. Bama didn't want to laugh anymore now. She felt terribly sad. So Bama finds it funny before because she did not know the reason behind the situation. She did not know why the man was carrying it by strings and why the man showed such signs towards the landlord. But now that she knows the truth, she finds it very sad that there is such a discrimination, there is such a concept of untouchability where we are considered as dirty, we are considered as polluted. So it is very sad situation. She could not understand how the vada, first wrapped in the banana leaf and then parceled in a paper, would become disgusting if one of them held that package in his hands. She could not understand that how the vada could be dirty because it was first wrapped in banana leaf and then a paper package. Even if the vada fall down in on the ground, it will not be dirty because the paper will be dirty, not the banana leaf or not the vada wrapped in the banana leaf. So she could not understand that even if we are not directly touching the vadas, how could it be how could it be considered dirty? She felt so provoked and angry that she wanted to touch those vadas herself straight away. She wondered why they had to fetch and carry for these people. Provoked means give rise to a reaction, emotion, typically a strong and unwelcome one in someone. So she was so furious and she felt a strange emotion in herself. She wanted to rebel. She wanted to touch those vadas herself to show that these are not dirty. She wondered why they had to fetch and carry for these people. She was infuriated that an important elder of the went meekly to the shop to fetch snacks and then handed them over reverently, bowing and shrinking to the fellow who sat there and stuffed them in his mouth. She felt that they were two human beings. Their people should not do petty jobs for the miserly rich upper caste. Petty jobs means jobs of little importance, and miserly means stingy. They should work in the field, take home the wages, and leave it at that. So she felt that the elders, which we should respect, are carrying over such small and petty jobs for those upper caste people who are so stingy. They just want to sit there and eat while we suffer and we show and even if we showed respect towards them, they they will never show respect towards ourselves. The lower caste people are always considered inferior, and that's why she was so infuriated. She was furious. Question number 6. What diversions in the streets, shops, and bazaar attracted Bama, tethered her legs, and stopped her from going home? Tethered means tying someone or tying something with a rope or chain which is attached to the ground or a wall. It means restricting its movements. It's basically used for animals, but the narrator is using it here because she is describing that her legs refused to move forward. It's like her legs are glued and are tied with a rope or something. Answer is there were many novelties and oddities that attracted Bama. Novelties and oddities are new and different things and interesting things. These included the performing monkey, the snake's charmer snake, the Narukaravan hunter gypsies, wild hammer in cages. Narukaravan is a community which is famous for hunting, but because hunting is banned in many forests, they they tend to they tend to make ornaments from beads to earn their earnings. The cyclist who had been pedaling for 3 days, the spinning wheels, and the Maria temple and its huge bell. She also noticed the Pongal offerings being cooked in front of the temple. Pongal is a festival. There were dried fish stalled near the statue of Gandhi. There were a sweet stall and a stall selling fried snacks. There were many shops next to each other. The public meeting of political parties, street plays, puppet shows, and stunts were other entertainments. She would watch how the waiters would pour coffee from a tumbler held high to another low down to cool it. Then she saw people who chopped onions kept their eyes to another side to avoid irritation. She admired the various fruits that came to bazaar according to the season. She also noticed people selling sweets and savory fried snacks. These were the usual scenes and sights that tethered her legs and stopped her from going home. These are some pictures. First picture describing is of a waiter which is serving coffee from a tumbler held high up. It is he is doing this so the coffee could cool down faster. Second picture is of a man from Narukaravan community, and the third picture is of a lemur in a cage. Question number 7. What indignities did the caste system heap on the lower caste? How could they end up discrimination? How did Bama react to her brother's advice? Answer is according to Annan, the caste system was highly discriminatory. It put the lower caste in a very disadvantageous position. They were never given any honor, dignity, or respect. They were deprived of all that. They only want to end this social discrimination was self improvement. They should study hard and make progress. Then they could throw away all those indignities. So, according to Anand, this caste system is very highly discriminatory. The lower caste are made feel very inferior. They have a very disadvantageous position. They are never given any kind of respect, dignity, or honor. They are deprived of that. And to improve their condition, it is the only way to self improve, to study, and to make progress. So, the tool and the solution is education. By education, they could remove this tag of lower caste, and they could gain their respect dignity back. He advised Pama to study with care and learn all that she could. If she was always ahead in her lessons, people would come to her on their own accord and attach themselves to her. The word work hard and learn became the guiding principle of Bama's life. She studied hard with all her breath and being. She was almost in a frenzy. Frenzy means a state or period of uncontrolled excitement and wild behavior. So she was really energized uh, towards her goal. She stood first in her class, and because of that, many people became her friend. This was the beginning of her illustrious career. Illustrious means well known, respected, and admired for past achievements. Question number 8. What oppression and discrimination did Zitkala-Sa and Bama experience during their childhood? How did they respond to their respective situations? Answer is Zitkala-Sa was a victim of social and cultural oppression by the victors who had overpowered them by their sheer strength. They were prejudiced towards Native American culture and women. They adopted force and oppression to compel the native to shed their age old tradition and customs. The cutting of long hair of Zitkala is a symbol of their oppression. She opposed this prejudice and oppression by rebelling against it. She protested with all her strength. Bama was a victim of caste system. She had seen, felt, and experienced the evil of untouchability when she was studying in the third standard. She felt humiliated by what it was. She struggled hard against this social discrimination. She studied hard and topped in her class. Many students became her friend. Thus, both Zitkala-Sa and Bama found the existing circumstances with courage and determination and ended the prejudice, discrimination, and oppression. Our questions are finished, and thank you.